Okay, so hedonic consumption and the design economy. This is what comprises the learning objective 2 now. So we will be um, getting familiar with what is hedonic consumption and the design economy. Hedonic consumption includes how a consumer interacts with the emotional aspects of the products. Now, in other words, products are rarely strictly functional. Consumers may want hedonic value too. No? Target is a company that has embraced this insight. Now, Target is a retail industry in United States. Usa na siya sa mga dagko nga retail store, equivalent to Walmart, Walgreens, mo na siya. So, Target is a company that has embraced the insight of hedonic consumption. Now, Target focuses on products with great design as well as functionality. Now, the unique sensor quality of a product helps it to stand out from competition. Now, when we say sensory quality, no. Especially if the brand creates a unique association with the sensation. An example I don't know if you are familiar with this, but what man lagi tayo example diri asa ato so we will be basing globally char. So the Owen Corning Fiberglass Corporation was the first company to trademark a color when it used bright pink for its insulation material. So, when we say insulation materials, plain na gud silver or unsa pa na diha bang plain, but the Owens Corning Fiberglass Corporation has so that break the what is traditional by introducing a pink color for insulation material. Now, it adopted the Pink Panther as its spokes character. No? Another example is, from that now, di ba na association of multi-sensory. No? Another example is Harley Davidson nga kanang motorbike. I think you're familiar with it because that's very famous. Now, it actually tried to trademark the distinctive sound of a hug, no, that the motorcycle makes when it revs up. Now, these responses are an important part of hedonic consumption. Now, a particular product does not only offers you its function, but instead it also offers, when we say hedonic consumption, it also offers multisensory. Now, when we say multisensory, inclusive of all the sensory, the receptors, sensory receptors na to. And then it also includes the fantasy and emotional aspects of consumers' interaction with the product. So, muna gitawag og hedonic consumption. Of course, along with it, under hedonic consumption is, form is function. So, di man dyan pwede nga. We cannot call a particular product to be of hedonic consumption characteristic if it is not formed according to its basic functionality and beyond. No? So, more than just being a motorcycle or more than just being a insulation material, it also elicits multisensory, a fantasy, naganahag pink, and emotional aspect of the consumer upon engaging with that particular product. So I think form is function is very self-explanatory, which means that a particular product is formed according to its functionality and beyond. Okay. In recent years, now The sensory experiences that we receive from products and services would also play an even bigger role when we choose among competing options. Nga naman, kay imo namang ma-identify what type of multisensory, what type of fantasy, what type of emotional aspect that these particular different competing products would be able to elicit from you upon engaging to that particular product. So, we can say that quality is yesterday's news. Today, we focus on the emotional impacts of the product. Again, I think this is very self-explanatory, which only states that aside from the quality, you as marketers should also focus on emphasizing the emotional impacts of your product to the consumer. Example ha, kanang hearing a can of soda pop open followed by the sound of carbonation fizzing. So, ma-differentiate nimo that when you open a particular kanabang sige na soda, for example, a soda nga gisodra og bottle, di man na kayo kusog mo heat up ang iyang carbonation. But soda nga isud og can, di ba makita pa nimo ang pagbuwa-buwa. So, and that is an additional emotional, no? Kanang stirring up of your consumers. Okay? Now, while products have always served a function, of course, that's why we buy a particular product, because they have a function that is to serve with us. They are more and more carrying meaning. So, if you are going to analyze, no, as the technology evolves now, the knowledge also has advanced. So, we're nagtikadugay, aside from serving its function, those products are also carrying meaning. So, it is the rule, no? Dili na karon musod ang rules sa good product design to effectively communicate the meaning of the product to the consumer. Diba? So, that's why it says in a learning objective that the design of a product is now a key driver. Because sometimes you promised to the consumers that this product will give this functionality, but the design of the product, it does not, no, gives you the functionality that it promised. And it also does not engage with you a particular hedonic consumption idea. Example of which I can cite, no, is my career sa office. Now, of course, a career is built to help teachers in their kanang ay daily tasks. But in my case, ang hang karel way saksakanan, taas pa jud siya. Mo na di ko ganahan mo gamit, are ko sa table. And the karel has turned out to be my kanang na ay stock place. Ato na ipamutang mga gamit. But technically, a karel is used for kanang mag-on kag laptop nimo. But the form itself does not serve its function, and I do not have any hedonic consumption, or I do not have any facets of behavior that it can relate to multisensory, fantasy, or emotions aspect, no, in using the karil. So, what's as in nada. Okay? So, muna, a good product design is important Now, to effectively communicate the meaning, the promised um, functions that you have of your product, the emotional attachment. So, dapat gi-carry na sa imong product design. Okay? Another is societal pressure based on economical, ecological, and technological preferences is constantly altering how people feel about your products. And this is true. Now, the changes in our economy, the pressures on our ecological, technological advancements has actually altered how people feel about particular products. That is why you need to impose or support, no? Dili ka murag ayaw papildi with this societal pressure. So you need also to consider this. You need to study. I mean, you have a knowledge about this societal pressure, or else pildihon gajud ka. Yeah? The new focus on emotional experience is consistent with psychological research finding that people prefer additional experiences to additional possessions as their income rises. Now, this is very true, no? So, when your income rises, because maybe you have a new job or whatever it is, but like once your income rises, you have this particular craving to have an additional experience from those that you have already experienced. Say, for example, sa una, ako, di kasi ko mo travel. Kaya nga naman, mo ko'y kwarta. Mas mahal i-travel, mas mahal i-plite, mas mahal i-pagkaon pa. But, as of today, nga na, I have salary, yan na. So, naana kay mga mindset, naana kay mga plans on traveling, buying this particular product, because you can afford now. So, mo na siya. So, may anong kinahanglan pa man na nimo sa hituon, ma'am? Of course. Okay, if you know that your consumers, your target consumers are planning to upgrade on a particular product or services, magpabilin day ka. So, if they are going to upgrade and then ang imo product or services nga offered is downgrade pa, what will happen? Diba? So, na, that is why you need also to focus on emotional experience. No? It should be consistent with what your consumers want. And, of course, the desires. Okay? Okay, nasabtan ang learning objective number 2. So, for your reflection, so imagine that you are a marketing consultant for the package design of a new brand premium chocolate. So, what recommendations would you make based on what we have discussed, no? Hedonic consumption and design economy, if you are to act as the marketing consultant of a new brand of premium chocolate, what recommendations would you make? Okay. Okay, let's move on to the learning objective 3, which is products and commercial messages often appeal to our senses, but because of the profusion of these messages, most won't influence us. Now, sensory marketing, now we call it sensory marketing, means that companies pay extra attention on how our sensations affect our product preferences. Now, marketers recognize that our senses help us to decide which product appeals to us. Mo na the sense of what are katong 5 senses na to: touch, sight, isa pa, hearing, ano to eh? Basta kanang 5 senses of the body, it helps us. No, it helps us to decide which products has most appeal to us. And we call it sensory marketing. Now, the sensory characteristics of products such as the touch, smell, taste, sound, and look, the eye, now have a large impact on consumer behavior. These sensory inputs affect how we feel, how we think, what we remember, what we like, and even how we choose and use products, specifically by emphasizing the sensory characteristics of products and services, or even creating new sensations entirely. We can greatly enhance consumers' attitude, perceptions, and satisfaction using these five senses of our body. So, from hotels to car makers to brewers, now they recognize that our senses help us to decide which product appeal most to us and which ones stand out from the host of similar offerings in the marketplace. Now, in this topic, no section, we'll take a closer look at how some smart marketers use our sensory systems to create a competitive advantage. So, we can, as marketers pohon, now, you can use the five senses of the body to create a competitive advantage. And that will only happen if you know how to use this, how to create um, marketing strategy that would really caught the five senses of the body. Okay? So, okay, our senses play quite a role in decision marketers make. Now, for instance, marketers rely heavily on visual elements in advertising, store design, and packaging. They communicate meaning on the visual channel through a product's color, size, and styling. An interesting scent has spawned new products now from some brands utilize scent easily. For example, Starbucks. Now Starbucks requires baristas to grind a batch of coffee each time they brew a post instead of just once each morning to ensure customers have that intense smell during their Starbucks experience. If you have been to a Starbucks, kanang kanang store kanang ilang my god, ilang establishment, no, perting humuta gadyo sa kape, like it, you would really be enticed to order, no, kay lami ang arang humuta, no? Stores and restaurants often play certain kind of music to create a certain mood. So nakakauna po, I'm sure no nga naka-experience na mo sud mong restaurants nga different restaurants, different music played, no? Depende sa, say for example, may kag anyong nga restaurant kanang samgyup. Ang ila po ipatukar is kanang, of course, mga Korean, to create the Korean vibe, to create a certain mood. So for those that are addicted to Korean or K-drama, at ma-entice gud sila adto sa kanang mga samgyup that plays particular sounds nga mga K-pop, di ba? Now, for those kanang mga class nga mga kuan nga mga consumers, ari po na sila sa kanang fine dining wherein the music is kanang mga kuan pod classics, no? So diha pala man you can tell how marketers has taken advantage of the five senses of the body in order to lure you into consuming their products or services. Okay. Recent research found that participants who simply touch an item for 30 seconds. Okay, niha. This is an established research, ha. Now, it is found out that participants, now during the research, na experiment sila, participants who simply touch an item for 30 seconds or less had greater level of attachment with the product compared to those that were not allowed to touch the item. Now, this connection is turned, this connection in turn boosted what they were willing to pay for. No? So, murag, tungod kay nagunitan nila ang product for 30 seconds or less, they are willing to pay for that particular product. Murag, compared to those nga wala kahikap, murag, nindot today na, okay. Yan, murag, for them, it okay ra makapalit sila or dili. But for those nakahikap, naka-experience ka dali for 30 seconds, mura jud kag magkanang isa na mag aligangas bang alam mo palit gud ko ato kay nindot gud tuhong mga na experience during sa pag ukay-ukay na sa product. So mo na siya the 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 um the use of touch, no, the how marketers target consumers using the touch technique. Okay, a food item's image and the values we attach to it influence how we experience the actual taste. So, murag common na jud kaadyo ni no nga naatay tan-awon nga pagkaon nga nigtan-aw na to harang lamia ka jud kaadyo. So inigkaon na to naiuban nga naiubang tao na inigkaon nila nga bisag way lami mo nga lami because they were influenced with the image, no? But of course there are also those consumers nga inigkaon nila marag dili mo yung sila na majura ba din forma do mo sila lami. But most, according to research, most of the food items image and the values we attach to it will eventually influence how the experience or how the consumers will experience the actual taste. So sometimes there are there are instances nga maka-influence siya mo kag mada naman lami naman po because naunhan maka sa ilang image nga lamion. There are also instances wherein igtan-aw nimo the image is not what it seems to be, kanang dili siya promising na di gani ka mukaon, no? And then you found out nga lami day nagbasol ka. Medyo pa daig ning kaon ko lami man daig ko, no? But because you were influenced by the image, mura sa jag bati o lasa or dili sa lami, you decided not to taste it. So mao na siya. Okay? So, oh my god. Okay, so sensory marketing includes the five senses. Let's just define what it is. Okay, so vision, no, the vision, the sleek styling and simple compact features telegraph an aura of modernity, sophistication, and just plain cool. So, okay, this refers to the Apple product. No, diba? Apple product usually works pretty well. Noted man na nga, nindot siguro sila og quality. But that's not why many people buy them. No? They buy this particular Apple product because of its sleek styling and simple. Simple na ba dyan, John? No, diba? Chunky ra si Jammer. Dito ra, diba? Daghang alibangas, the camera, even the highest model, dili nang mag ana-ana ang camera, maggawas-gawas. No, they prefer simple, no? Compact, no? Compact po sila. Tanan, no? Colors may even influence our emotions more directly. Evidence suggests that some colors, particularly red, create feelings of arousal and stimulate appetite. And others, such as blue, create more relaxing feelings. American Express launched its blue card, and after its research found that people describe the color as providing a sense of limitlessness and peace. So, in terms of vision, no, dili ra ang styling, but also the color matters. Now, researchers believe that colors actually suggest, no, or create particular feelings. In the example given, red constitute arousal and stimulate appetite, while blue creates a relaxing feeling and promise a limitless effortlessness, and peace. Okay? Scents, on the other hand, refers to how odors stir emotions or create a calming feeling. Now, they invoke memories or relieve stress. Now, one study found that consumers who viewed ads of either flowers or chocolates and who also were exposed to flowery or chocolatey odors now spent more time processing the product information and were more likely to try different alternatives within each product category. So another reported that the subjects showed higher recall of a test brand's attributes if it was embedded in a scent. And this effect persisted as long as 2 weeks after the experiment. So scents has this particular power, no, to, im- eh, to embed particular feelings to consumers. Kakuan mo anang sa Avon nga brochure nga mag scratch mo and then masimutan na ninyo kung unsay baho sa perfume. Diba it would last a few days usa mawa sa imong huna-huna di mo kay na kadugayan nimong huna-huna palit na lang ko ingat oy kay humot kasi siya. So there's an example of how scents influence, no? I mean kag hala ganahan gud ko ingan ng Victoria's Secret. Ya inigsim pag tanaw nimo lain man zag baho. No, there are Victoria's Secret na perfume that are too strong, no? Ang isang scent ba isog ra kaadyo which connotes negative feelings on the consumers. Now they end up not buying the product. Okay. Sound. Now in sound, composers and producers have to weave a sound or motif into a piece of music and associate it in a particular brand. So, during your introductory activity, no, naatid to katong kang rinalin nga jingle to. Oh, kadto. That's an example of how sound was used, no, in creating sensory marketing. Now we call it audio water marketing, that which, no, Nescafe, the Coca-Cola has been using. Familiar pud mo anang advertisement sa Coca-Cola, di ba? They are using particular sound or motif. Kana ganing sa Coca-Cola kay gipa kuan gadyo na gipa compose of a famous composer nga naghimo si jag jingle just for Coca-Cola. No? So mo na siya. Those are the uses of, and of course it plays a great deal kay makadungog ta sa kon masib sa tagkanta-kanta ano say kanta-kanta so mato kag tindahan makita ka uy nay cook mo palit ko bigay ko andi uhaw man pud ay ko gusto mo na. Those are how sensory marketing works, no? Kita ra jud lagi giilad ani mga marketers. Music and other sound effects affect people's feelings and behavior. Some marketers who come up with brand names pay attention to sound symbolism, the process by which the way a word sounds influences our assumptions about what it describes and attributes such as the size. Okay. Let's go to touch. Sensations that reach the skin, whether from a luxurious massage, stimulate or relaxes us. Now, researchers have shown that touch can influence cells interaction. Now, in one study, diners whom the waiter or the wait staff touch the consumers or the diners have been found to give bigger tips. And the same researchers reported that food demonstrators in the supermarket who lightly touched customers or consumers had better luck in getting shoppers to try a new snack product and to redeem coupons for the brand. So if I have an experience in Bohol before, no? Nag-demonstrate to siya about a particular kanabang marag blending machine kanang mabasa og cup Oh, gamay ra siya mo ra siya blender nga gamay nga portable. Pwede sa madada, pwede siya isaksak, pwede sa siya battery. So, what he did, katong demonstrator, is from the audience, I was among them, isa kong bitad. So, dali ma'am. Kanang pasuwayon ka na ho. So, mo na ako'y nag butang sa katong fruit, ako'y nagtrabaho tanan, ija ra kong gitudlan, mo na kani pisliton. And then, the feeling was different. Hala, nindot lagi, hala, nindot lagi ni. So, of course, I end up buying, no? Unja, only to find out nga na-scam ko, kay for like 3 months, naguba ang machine na labad. Gikapoy ko ninja, oy. Okay, so, nailad ko, diba? So, that's how, marketers were able to influence me. The demonstrator was able to influence me to buy that particular thing. Okay, taste. Our taste receptors obviously contribute to our experience of many products. So-called flavor houses develop new concoctions to please the changing palates of the consumer. Now, be reminded that in our opening vignette, now, cultural factors also determine the taste we find desirable. A food item, no, or a food item's image and values we attach to it, such as how the vegetarians regard beef menu items, which is not kindly kay vegetarians na sila, influence how we experience the actual taste. For example, consumers' greater appreciation of different ethnic dishes contributes to increased desires for spicy foods, so the quest for the ultimate pepper sauce continues. So, mo na siya mo influence ang cultural factors. So, because, for example, because you appreciate, no, different ethnic dishes, so mo na, sige na pugag, of course, ethnic dishes are mostly connected with spicy foods. So muna mangita pug ka og ultimate pepper sauce nga pwede mahimong panghanghang sa imong pagkaon because you were influenced by the cultural factors. Okay? Sensory. Lagi ka po na jud ko. It's very late na. Sensory signature ato lang dyan humanon. Sensory signature refers to or is more than just having a recognizable sensory attribute. It is possessing distinctive sensory characteristics which reflect or enhance your brand promise through specific emotional or functional benefits to consumers. Now, with this increasing attention to sensory marketing, products and businesses need to act quickly to establish a sensory signature. Because in the market nowadays, we have this common use of sensory marketing. You as a marketer or as a representative of a particular company or product, you need to establish a sensory signature. What is a sensory signature? Now, muna, it's more than just having a recognizable sensory attribute, blah, blah, blah. So, managers need to ask themselves, is there something about my brand that leaves a sensory impression in the people's mind? So, muna usa ka question nga dyan pangutanon. More, try to ask yourself as a marketer, is there something about my brand that leaves a sensory impression in people's mind? Now, another is what sensory characteristics of the product sticks with the consumer, helping them to remember the product in a positive, unique way. So, mo po na usan mo i-ponder kibali na unsay mga sensory characteristics sa product that would stick to the consumers, nga which help them to remember the product in a positive way, not in a negative connotation. So, also na. Another question that they would ask themselves is, do they emphasize a sensory experience with the product, or have they constructed a new one entirely? So, check your product whether or not they emphasize a sensory experience. So, say for example, sabon. So, check your sabon whether or not they have emphasized the sensory experience. Kung sa may sensory experience sa sabon, touch, di ba? Sensory experience, kung ano ba siya, kanang malumoy ba, nag-agkot ba, o whatever it is. So, you have to check, is my sabon, no, emphasizing a particular sensory experience. So, say for example, your sabon is noted to be very, kanang silky sa feeling, kung maligo ka. So, does your soap, no, emphasizes how silky the feeling is when using the soap, or do your soap constructed a new experience entirely? So, may kakarog, giusab nimo ang imong sabon kay aside from silky siya, ma-feel pod sa user, so pa may lain ko sa touch when it comes to sabon, the silkiness and kanang, o aside sa ma-feel mo nga silky siya, but ikaw sang buo sa tubig, mawa rapod ang kanang more kadangog, silky sa pamati, but dili siya dangog. Okay, so maanay bot kasabot. Okay, another question is, do they own a sensory experience and thus established its sensory signature? So ask yourself, does your product own a sensory experience? No? A terrific example of a company with a definite sensory signature, and consequently one of the most commonly cited kanang product or service that has used this sensory signature is the Singapore Airlines. I have not wa pa ko kasakay og kuan kay wa pa ko kasakay og airplane ever since. So, according to research, now the airline focuses on creating a distinct visual signature. So maybe they hire beautiful FA, no? And then the ambience of the plane is very relaxing or distinct from other competitors, that which makes passengers to avail or go to the kanang Singapore Airlines. But the more interesting and memorable of the Singapore Airline is its signature aroma, the Floridian waters. Now, this fragrance was developed specifically. It was developed for the use of the Singapore Airlines only. And it is infused into their towels, dispersed throughout the planes, and even worn by the flight attendants. Now, the smell is not only invigorating; it also kanang lingers on the passenger's mind, now leading to positive responses upon future exposure to the aroma. So, naa sila'y kaugalingon nilang scent. So, scent ang ilang gigamit nga sensory signature. So, of course, aside from the visual, they put more emphasis on the scent as a signature sensory. Okay, so that ends the learning objective 3. Now, products and commercial messages often appeal to our senses, but because of the profusion of these messages, most won't influence us. Talks about the sensory and everything. Now, for your reflection now. How has your sense of touch influenced your reaction to a product? And the second question is, which of your senses do you feel is most influential in your perception of